PCOS cannot be cured, it can only be managed.
Does much hair or does hair on your body means you have PCOS? How can someone with PCOS know she is pregnant?
Please, if you have PCOS, forget about using natural method. Just forget about using calendar method of knowing fertility period. You are wasting your time. It will not work. So sister, if you want to marry a man that is 40 and above, insist on semen analysis. At what age should a person start having sex? We don't have an age. A penis enlargement cream advisable.
Ladies and gentlemen, with this, I welcome you to the Real Talk session, open forum with intimate matters happening here in the beautiful city of you. I think you're happy. I think you're excited this afternoon. But if you are, I feel I am actually excited to see each and every one of you. Please just give yourself a very sounding round of applause. Appreciate yourselves, please. Appreciate yourselves. So I want to be very, very honest with me with this question. Since this year began, since this month began, I think this is April, right? You've had 3 square meal. Let me see your hand. No, be very honest. 3 square meals. Let me see your hand. So you're a suspect. They chop 3 times daily. I don't understand. Me since morning and now I just chop and I ching I eat too. I don't understand. Are you me? Okay, you've subscribed your phone without anything moving from your body. Let me also see your hand. You subscribed. Nothing they touch you. Let me also see your hand. God, I beg. Okay, so you've comfortably taken yourself on a date. Let me see your hand. Solo dates. Solo dates don't follow. Let me give you an update. As you are like this, since the beginning of this month, since you've not invited, as far as you've not eaten, you've not patronized MTN very well back to back with subscription. As far as you are not scratching your bum as a woman, and a man, you are not urinating for 2 hours, there's nothing wrong with you. You are very, very fine. So most times we get into an institution and we leave not necessarily to practice what we went to read, but I have a one man in the room that didn't only practice, he actually gave out his entire 70% of his medical practice into devoting his concern to pass the right information about sexual and reproductive health. For me, I feel that in Akwaowo State, I think it should be the most outstanding male nurse registered for that matter. And for some persons, men, women, I was passing on the road, someone was saying, that guy is, if he has really helped women when they are in menstrual pain, menstrual gram. Most of the men will acclaim him as the only man that redeemed them from 2 minutes. But for me, I see him as one of the best when it comes to the conversation on sexual and reproductive health. Please, if your hands are not too busy, I would love to bring him in here so that he can pilot the affairs for us, telling us how this proceeding will go. The very best, our own favorites, the only man that teaches about bad things but doesn't want to have a bait. I don't know when he wants to. I don't want him to be married this year. Be waving at me. Want to give him a wife this year. Be waving. God bless you. So you will marry this year in Jesus' name. Nurse Akwaowo Akpan. It goes by the name Geek Nurse.
Good afternoon, everyone. For people that came in late before the camera got rolling, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for making out time. This is a weekend. You would have been with your person, except you are like a Kemini that doesn't have anybody. But then you say we should come out and have this conversation. You are the reason for this conversation. Without you, we wouldn't have this conversation. So my name is Akwaowo Akpan. So I want to say thank you so much, each and every one of you, for coming out today. But just before I go on, we are here gathered because of an amazing platform that has made it possible for us to put out the knowledge of sexual and reproductive health, and that's Intimate Matters. Please celebrate Intimate Matters podcast. Intimate Matters podcast is an amazing podcast, but has a whole lot of people running at the background to make everything happen. And then a whole lot of people come to me and be like, Geek Nurse, I see your podcast. Yes, it's my podcast because it's been an amazing platform. But this podcast would not have been possible if not for a woman I respect so much. I remember the very first day I saw her message on my LinkedIn. And you know this thing, if you've been on LinkedIn, you know how LinkedIn is. How many of you are on LinkedIn? The pressure there is something else. So when I saw the message, I was like, okay, the first thing that I saw an Ibibio, I was like, okay, I know Kangen Gedo. But then I went and I saw the person that messaged me, and I opened, and the first thing I saw was that she's a nurse, and I was like, okay, that's amazing. A nurse like me, something to appreciate. But when I realized that she has gotten to the pinnacle of the academia when it comes to nursing, a professor of nursing, the woman, so I want to celebrate the woman who is the brain behind Intimate Matters podcast and also so many other podcasts, talking about no other person than Professor Idong Esedobeya. Please, can you help me celebrate her? Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, because you made this possible. And beyond just Intimate Matters podcast, we've got other podcasts on the books of Abeg Vex Entertainment. That's the mother company. And we have some of the amazing hosts of those podcasts. So like this single Pringle host a podcast. Have you seen this beautiful? Okay, just from this line, these two lines, look behind. Then the line, they look in front. Have you seen these amazing, beautiful ladies? They are podcast hosts. Beautiful, beautiful ladies. We have the host of More Than Headlines podcast, Glory Gems. We have Mehita Bell, Emai Diong, and Mrs. Mem, who are the host of the Truth in Bikinis podcast. And we have Uproots the Issue podcast. So those are amazing person. Please celebrate my co-podcast hosts. I really, really appreciate them. So without much ado, we're going to have conversation. Thank you to each and every one of you. You made this possible. We had an online form we put out, and you people made different suggestions. I'm not one to like to teach, because I know to like school like that, unfortunately. But then I believe that when we're interacting, we should ask, please, you can start writing down your questions, the one that you send. I just sat down here, use AI to do some analytics on some of the things we're doing. So let's just look at the ground rules first. So for the ground rules, a very simple thing to just make this thing ruled on. We don't want judgment. Everybody has the right to ask the question they want to ask. Nobody should be ashamed. There's no stupid question here. You might know, but someone else will not know. And please respect and keep each other's confidence. So that in case I tell you that, who knows the meaning of Ndito? Who knows what's Ndito? Yes. Who knows what's Ndito? Now, I used to have Ndito. Now, Ndito is one of the sweetest, I don't know, this arguably, but Ndito is one of the sweetest sensations I've ever felt in my life. I think Ndito is scabies, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in English. So it affects different parts of the body, but sometimes revolves around the genitals. So I used to have mine in my genitals. Now this thing, I'm saying this thing, there's one of my friend, he will watch this, Gideon, one of my closest friend. So I started nursing school in my first year nursing school. I used to have Ndito. Then I realized that Gideon, my friend, used to have Ndito too. You need to see. So when you have Ndito, you have this itching sensation. So you have the urge to itch it. Then when you itch it, you have this sweet. So if you see somebody, the only state for me that I can compare itching Ndito, like scratching Ndito to, is almost like when you are having orgasm. Like I was saying, so when I scratch, you just scratch and the sensation will come and you just be enjoying it. Sometimes you scratch and you may scratch and just get carried away. You don't realize that people are around. Now, there's this method we use. This one is a typically BBO method. So, eben fangikbong. I say fun fangikbong. Not the really strong one, just this soft one. Not the one that is, not that one. The other one, but it's not too strong. So it becomes a little bit fluffy. So with the heat and the fluffiness, you just carry it and place in that place. Sensation. But it comes because of a poor personal hygiene. I used to be very dirty. Jesus. Now when I look back, so that's why when I see on social media, they talk about men who wear boxers for like 2 weeks. That was my story before the Lord Jesus came. and rescued me out of it. So I analyzed a couple of things that people said they wanted to learn about. So these were some of the core things that. So we have hormones and menstrual health. There was PCOS and vaginal care. There was sex, talking about sex itself, the main thing. Then there was sexual health. So there is sex, there is sexual health. Then fertility and pregnancy. Then consent, safety, and rights. Isabel spoke about people. It's something that with the rise in AI, with the rise in internet, with people having more access to internet, cybersecurity, and sexual intelligence, if I should call that in the online space, when it comes to sexting and sharing notes. When you delete your picture, where does it go? So that's something we'll talk about before we take the question. So we're going to do it very fast. So let's talk hormones. So hormones, we have a whole lot of problems now around hormones, where we have hormonal imbalance up and down. Almost everyone is having issues with hormones. Who knows the trend that has been happening the last couple of days, where women are complaining of menstrual pains and affecting their hormones? So hormones are your body messaging system, one of the body messaging system. Your body has layers of messaging. So it's like your phone. You can call, you can do the normal ATL text, you can do an online text. Hormone is just one of them, because other means of messaging, we have your nerve impulses and so many other things. But hormones is just one of the body's messaging system. So they regulate cycle, influence your mood, drive your libido, and affect your energy level. People think that hormonal imbalance only affects women. Do you know men also have mood swing? Do you know that men also have mood swing? In fact, that's one of the reasons why, for me, I don't think it's justifiable for you to keep up a wrong attitude and blame it on hormones. Because if all of us were to carry our hormones on our head, nobody would live. So it affects almost everything about you. So for the women on, there are a couple of ways about it. But for the men on, so for women, there are majorly two hormones when it comes to sex. There are so many hormones though, but most of the things we'll concentrate on here is about sex and reproduction. Is that okay? So when it comes to female hormones, as it pertains to sex, we have estrogen, progesterone majorly, maybe oxytocin. We'll talk about it later. But for men, it's testosterone. Now, everything that revolves around sex and reproduction for women is estrogen and progesterone. But for men, it's testosterone. Fortunately, I should say unfortunately for men, testosterone does not just control our reproduction, it controls almost everything about a man. From his energy level, from influences his sleep, even influences his ability to perform physical tasks. So that's why you see when athletes want to boost their performance, they take testosterone. And that is why for women, when a woman walks out and your body, and you start to build your muscle, the level of your testosterone increase. That is why we say that female athletes look like. So it's testosterone that makes that happen. So what is normal? In terms of menstrual cycle and hormone, 21 to 35 days, it's arguable. Some people say 18, 20 to 40, 45. So the least is like 18, the most is like 45. You can choose your own. So that's what happens. Now, when it comes to hormone and before I bring in the menstrual health, when it comes to hormones, your hormones affect a whole lot of things for women. We're noticing an increase in hormones that will most likely manifest with problems with your menstrual cycle. But then it can move beyond that. So some women, they start to have galactorrhea, where they start to produce milk from the breast when they are not breastfeeding and they are not pregnant. So for galactorrhea, it means that prolactin is an hormone, but it's only produced during pregnancy and breastfeeding. It means that prolactin is higher than normal. So for some women, they are not menstruating. It could be your progesterone is higher or lower. It could be that we also have other hormones like luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormones, if any of those hormones is out of place, there will be irregularities in your menstruation. And that is why one of the things I recommend for women is the fact that you need to track your cycle. If something should happen to you as a woman, there is a very high likelihood that it will touch your cycle first before every other thing. So when you have problem with your hormone as it pertains to your menstrual health, your periods will become irregular or missing. Consistently irregular, because there are days it will deviate. So maybe it just happened for 1 month. You cannot say you have hormonal imbalance. But when the irregularity becomes consistent, that's when you know there is a problem. You have severe cramps, emphasis on severe cramps that disrupt. So this is the thing. You should have cramps. It's possible that it's normal to you to have cramps as a woman, but if your cramps disrupt what we call ADL, activities of daily living, that cramps is not normal. So if you are the one that when you are menstruating and you have cramps, you cannot go to work, you cannot do anything. You see women call up as a ball on their bed and crying. It's not normal. If your conscience is touching you and you know it happens to you, smile small. Okay. So you have hormonal symptoms like persistent acne, mood swings, or unexplained fatigue. Then if you're a woman, if you notice that you are having male characteristics, especially as it pertains to hairs. So you're very hairy, not all the time, but then you're noticing hairs popping up around your chin, around your chest, around your back. There's a likelihood that you have a higher than normal androgen level. Androgen is male hormones. So you have a higher than normal androgen level, and it should not be so. So that's how it affects. So please, you can write that question about hormones and keep, because I know we are going to have a whole lot of questions. Just before we get there, there's a new trend. I've noticed this. A whole lot of people will call me and be like, I'm not seeing my period. I've not been seeing my period. So I think I have hormonal imbalance. And they start taking drugs. Unfortunately, I feel bad for them because I don't know where they afford the money to buy that drugs, because some of those drugs are on the expensive side. But it's not recommended for you to take drugs just because you feel that something is wrong with you. Because you have about... Who has ever done an hormone profiling test here? Hormone profiling test. You have about 8 hormones that has to be checked. And any of them can be imbalance. That would decide the kind of drugs that you have to be given. So it's not always a one-size-fits-all. So this PCOS is a hormonal condition. Hello? So this is one of the most common hormonal conditions today. Is it bad? So this is now one of the most common hormonal conditions. I was speaking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she was telling me that she went to see a radiographer. She told me she has been suffering from PCOS since, I think, 2018 or so. So she went to meet a radiographer, and the woman said that we are having more women, especially young women, come down with PCOS, which is an hormonal condition. Unfortunately, PCOS is widely undiagnosed because the irregularities in menstruation sometimes play to become an advantage. So I had a friend of mine, she has PCOS. She came to me and told me that it's now she's feeling the brunt of it and she's worried. That when it started, when she was in secondary school, she wasn't worried. Because PCOS most times will lead to irregular menstruation. She can go months without menstruating. And she felt it was a flex. So she was in secondary school. She doesn't menstruate for months. She tells me that the part the parents gave her from the house, she sells it to make extra source of money. So to her then, I know they menstruate. And they sell part. She got the sell part on top school where they send them. But now, in fact, the way she said it, she wasn't even worried. But not for the fact that the way it's manifesting now is that she has an increased level of one of the hormones that results in her bleeding very heavily. So she's the kind that can use like 4 or 5 pads within 24 hours. And when it starts to bleed, so she'll go months without bleeding. When it starts to bleed, we're talking 7, 10 days, 15 days. So that's PCOS for you. So PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome, meaning that there is a cyst, polycystic, multiple cysts forming in the ovaries. So we have illness, we have disease, we have syndrome. Syndrome is when we have, should I say, a collection of diseases, illnesses. So what this means is that when this cyst forms, it leads to a collection of different problems. So it could be the fact that the cyst will form. So already there's fluid in the ovaries, leading to sometimes what we call an ovulation, which she doesn't even ovulate. Or sometimes that will also lead to a spike or a low, or more than normal lowering of certain hormones, leading to heavy bleeding. So it's a accumulation of so many things that can happen when it comes to PCOS, and it affects a lot of people. So common signs: irregular or infrequent periods, unexplained weight changes. Now, why weight changes happens is because the body starts to become resistant to insulin because of the accumulation of some of those hormones. And that's why PCOS predisposes to obesity. PCOS and obesity or weight gain works hand in hand. So if you have PCOS, you're more likely going to start gaining weight. If you start gaining weight, you're more likely there's a possibility you might have PCOS. So you just go. Then persistent acne, excess hair growth, or hair thinning. That is why they used to say before now that a woman that has BABA should not make a good wife. That she's a man. Because that's one of the signs. It's not all of them. Now, PCOS means that a woman is born with a higher than normal androgen level. So a man has female hormones, a woman has male hormones, but it's supposed to be at a particular level. But for whatever reason, most times unknown reason, in a woman, the level of the male hormone rises more than normal. So it leads to some male characteristics like facial hairs and other stuffs. Sometimes that manifestation may just stop at that manifestation. Sometimes it will affect the reproductive cycle. So what I'm trying to say is that not be all women will get BABA, you get PCOS. No be all women will get BABA, go feed their struggle, say they no go give birth and all of those stuff. Although I don't know who told us that a woman with BABA is a wicked woman, but it's well. Sorry, if you have BABA, if you're a woman, you have small BABA. All right, so PCOS cannot be cured. It can only be managed. That my friend asked me and be like, so Akwaowo, now that I have PCOS, can you marry me? And I looked at her, very beautiful. And I was like, yes, I can marry you. But then, it's essentially if you have PCOS, you need to communicate it. Because depending on the severity of it, there may need to be some adjustment. So it's manageable. The management is two things. First, to manage the symptoms, depending on your unique symptoms. Secondly, to improve fertility. Now, most times, especially in the Nigerian climate, when a young girl goes to the hospital, most times, and she's diagnosed of PCOS, they may want to do little or nothing about it for obvious reasons. One, the treatment might be very expensive. Like that, my friend, she's been on hormonal contraceptive. This is getting to like 8 years. We know that just early this year, World Health Organization now classify hormonal contraceptive into one of the cancer causes agents. You know it, Abi? See, if you pop post, you know where you stand, Abi? All right. So that's why they may not want to give you, because they will expose you to a long-term increase in hormones. So they will feed you a whole lot of hormonal drugs. Secondly, it can be quite expensive, those drugs. She mentioned one of the price of those drugs, and I was like, now this one they say, give money. And she's been taking it. She said since from, I think, JS3 or something. And then the core part of PCOS management is always to improve fertility. So one of the things they will ask you, I hope you don't get angry, will be like, are you married? Or are you planning to have a child soon? Most times, if you're not, they'll just give you a couple of things to help regulate your cycle and be like, just go. When you're ready, you come back. let me just give this one. So another thing you might know that possibly you may, not somebody, because this sign is not something you should go and look for in somebody's body. Some women may have a larger than normal clitoris if they have PCOS, because penis and clitoris are made from the same tissue. So during differentiation, to make one man, make one woman, one grow into a penis, one grow into a clitoris. That's why the peak of sexual pleasure for both male and female is penis and clitoris. That's why for women that want to, we'll come to that when we talk about sex, but just know that it may be a larger than normal. Now, when I say this, people will ask me. The first person that asked me this question was my pastor. He called me. I was like, wow, I saw your post. I wrote it on Facebook. I saw your post. You say a woman that has PCOS may have a larger clitoris. I say, yes, sir. I was like, come, I want to see you.